Me name na Kona Sise. Today we come na Yuri building for the weekly press briefing where the Ministry of Information and Communication can hold every Thursday. Now we dey go inside the press conference room for witness the press briefing.
Yesterday called on His Excellency the President, Dr. Julius Maada to present him with an award appreciating the achievements of the new direction government. Making this presentation at State House, President of the Sierra Leone Labour Congress, Jane Wright, said they were pleased with the strides of the government and were impressed with the gains made less than 2 years. He said they believed in the convention of social dialogue with government and the interests of the country. The Sierra Leone Labour Congress chief also commended His Excellency the President for delivering on his promise by adhering to Sierra Leone's subscription to the International Labour Organization (ILO) and ratifying 5 conventions for the centenary of the ILO. In his brief response, President Julius Maada expressed gratitude for the recognition, adding that he was happy to meet with the Sierra Leone Labour Congress, which constitutes a large number of the country's population, to discuss issues relating to the development of the country. He said developing Sierra Leone will require the support of everyone and therefore encourage the Sierra Leone Labour Congress to continue being partners in the development process. The special representative of President Xi Jinping, His Excellency Yang Jiechi, is expected to arrive today in Sierra Leone for an official visit. The visit of the Chinese envoy is aimed at exchanging views with government officials on promoting bilateral ties as well as international and regional issues of common concern. The China Special Representative and delegation, according to the Foreign Ministry, will be received this evening at the Freetown International Airport, Lunge, by the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Madam Nabila Tunis. His Excellency Yang is expected to hold a bilateral meeting with His Excellency the President of the Republic of Sierra Leone, Dr. Julius Maada Bio, at State House on Friday. Members of the Sierra Leone Teachers Union (SLTU) have met with His Excellency the President at State House on Tuesday to discuss their role in successful rollout of the Free Quality Program. The Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, Alpha Usman Timbo, said the union was receiving its commitment to meeting the President routinely to discuss matters relating to the teaching profession and the general aspiration of the state. The newly elected SLAG executive last Friday paid an official introductory visit to the Minister and Deputy Minister of Information and Communication. As a tradition, the visit was led by the outgone SLAG President Kelvin Lewis. SLAG President, the current President, Ahmed Said Nasrallah, expressed his profound gratitude to the Ministry of Information and Communication and stated that he looks forward to a viable cooperation for the rebuilding of the media. The minister reassured the team of his ministry's consistent support to rebrand the media and ultimately repeal the criminal libel law. These are the summary of main events, among others. And today in our midst we have the Ministers of Labour and the Minister of Tourism with us. And also we have a representative from the Office of National Security to discuss on the meeting. That is a team, a high-powered delegation that will be coming from the Gambia to visit Sierra Leone from the 7th of September. And they'll be here up to the 12th. to discuss, learn lessons from post-war Sierra Leone or post-conflict Sierra Leone. How we've gone thus far in achieving sustainable peace in our country. And Mr. Ngangoba Kelly is here to explain more on that for us. And so this very day, we'll begin with the Minister of Tourism, who's here to... Sorry?
Chief Immigration Officer, Andrew Jack.
Okay. Well, let me begin from, I see a public notice here from Immigration. I'll begin with due permission from the Chief Immigration Officer, who will take us through about the issue of immigration in the country and to update us on that. Mr. Jai, you're welcome, sir.
Good afternoon, all. My name is Andrew Jai Kaikai, the Chief Immigration Officer of the Republic of Sierra Leone. I have here a public notice or press release that I'll just read. As part of government's commitment to promote tourism and attract foreign direct investment, the government of Sierra Leone wishes to inform the general public, airline operators, Sierra Leone embassies and missions overseas, International Air Transport Association, IATA, international partners, and other government bodies that will effect from today, Thursday, 5th September 2019, a new visa on arrival policy has been put in place. And the visa on arrival will be for the following countries or blocks: the United Kingdom citizens, European Union citizens, United States citizens, citizens of Commonwealth member countries, citizens of the Gulf Cooperation Council member countries, which are UAE, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, Qatar, Kuwait, and Oman, citizens of the BRICS countries, those are Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. Also citizens of the following countries: Iran, Cambodia, Vietnam, Singapore, Indonesia, Thailand, Turkey, Japan, South Korea, Norway, Israel, Bolivia, East Timor, Macau, Samoa, Tavula. Below are the visa fees for ease of reference. All ECOWAS nationals are visa-free, and they will continue to enjoy that privilege. Non-ECOWAS AU nationals, the fee is going to be $25 US. All other countries, 80 United States dollars. Citizens of ECOWAS states and all other countries with which Sierra Leone has visa-free guarantee agreements will continue to enjoy visa-free access. Citizens of countries not listed above are required to visit the Sierra Leone embassy or mission abroad to secure visas prior to visiting Sierra Leone. All persons coming to Sierra Leone for the purpose other than tourism, visit, or business need to apply for a visa before undertaking such travel. We wish to reassure all potential visitors of a continuing hassle-free visa processing experience. And Andrew Jai Kaikai, Chief Immigration Officer. Thank you.
Distinguished journalists, colleague Minister of Labor, Chief Immigration Officer, the Permanent Secretary, journalists here present, let me take this opportunity of saying hello to you all, and that I'm always pleased to be here in order that we can be able to speak about critical issues, not only affecting Sierra Leone, but issues especially relating to tourism. Today is a very important day for us. Today is a historic day. It is a historic day because we have been able to join many countries across the world in rolling out visa on arrival. Now, when I became Minister of Tourism, one of the key challenges which I had and which a number of people across the world were able to communicate to us as a government was the fact that coming to Sierra Leone was very, very difficult. Very difficult because access to visa was almost impossible because of the fact that we have limited embassies abroad, and because of the fact that getting to those embassies and trying to access visa has been a huge challenge, not only for those who want to come into Sierra Leone, but then also for Sierra Leoneans abroad. There are quite a number of them who have said to us, we want to go home, we want to come for holidays, but we cannot pay the extra mile. For instance, if you want to have a visa to come to Sierra Leone, if you are in Finland, you need to ensure that you get in touch with our embassy in London. And then, you can determine what that implies in terms of cost and in terms of time. And it has also mitigated against tourist arrival. Many countries that have been able to do well in tourism, they have rolled out visas on arrival. If you look at the Gambia, many a time people say, we have quite a number of people coming to the Gambia. It's because they have rolled out visa on arrival. Senegal, Nigeria, recently Ghana. And then when you look at some countries like Seychelles, Mauritius, all those countries have rolled out some form of visa processes that increases arrival of tourists. So for Sierra Leone, this is a huge step. And I will want to take this opportunity to thank His Excellency. I'm thanking him because he has been able to listen to us. He has been able to see the constraints in the sector. And he has been able to see what benefits we'll get the sooner we are able to roll out visa on arrival. Which means our tourist arrival is going to increase. We are going to have more people who will be coming in for different trades, investments. And it also means we're going to get closer to the rest of the world. So this is really very, very important. Now, I would also like to say that getting the visa on arrival is one step. But then also we need to do the rest of the homework. The rest of the homework is that we have to make sure that we portray Sierra Leone in a very positive light. Now, one of the challenges which we have is the fact that we are still struggling in order that we can be able to ensure that we improve on our image abroad. We rebrand Sierra Leone. So this step is very, very significant in rebranding Sierra Leone. So we have to do our work as journalists in order we can tell the good stories. Today, if you go on the internet, there are lots of stories, good stories about Sierra Leone tourism. And quite recently, CNN rated Sierra Leone as one among the 10 countries that have not been fully explored, but is one of the unique and pristine destinations. So I like to say that this is a big change. This is going to be a big gain. This is going to open doors. This is going to change our profile. And this is actually going to give us an opportunity for lots of people to look and knock on the doors of Sierra Leone. So it is time for us to support this change. It is time for us to have the good stories. It is time for us to rebrand and be our ambassadors. So let me thank you all for listening.
So we now see the nexus or the connection of tourism and immigration. And the minister here have explained to all of us, especially the gains this will make in the tourism sector in attracting tourists to the country. So I'll now ask members of the press if you have questions for the Minister of Tourism here, as well as the immigration officer. You can just put up your hand and then we'll take a few questions. Can you re-roll the mic at the back for those at the back, please? Yeah, let me start with the man very close to the AC. Go straight to the point, eh?
Good afternoon. My name is Christian Ponzi. Madam Minister, I remember after your appointment you came here, you made several promises. I want to know how far you have come with, keeping some of these promises. One of them was that you would ensure we have basic social services in all touristic sites across the country, including Bond and other areas. Because you said for us to have for tourists to come into the country and enjoy must have basic social amenities like water, electricity in all touristic sites. That's one. And how far have you gone in also decentralizing your ministry across the country? And when it comes to the issue of visas, going to other countries is quite expensive. So when I had something like $25, I see it as very cheap. Why is Sierra's visa so minimal? Don't you think it will open doors for people who you might not even want to come here to come?
Okay.
Yes. Okay. Should I respond?
You take three, then the minister will respond.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I'm Dauda Kuma, independent observer. I am really dumbfounded when you pronounce the visa fee, especially for ECOWAS. But I want to know, how did you come to the arrival for this visa fees, especially for the non-ECOWAS citizen? And also, how have you met with other partners to conclude this? So I want to know how you come to the arrival, sir, about this visa.
Okay, it's noted. And one more, we come to the next. Just one more. We'll have the next one, please.
Thank you very much, sir. Fire. Either one. Mr. On the two of you, what is the process now you arrive at our airport? What's the process and what's the duration for you to get a visa on arrival? Then, Madam Minister, you have been accused of disintegrating or sowing discord among the Sierra Leone entertainment industry by bringing on board few and selected few in the entertainment industry. How will you react to such an accusation? Thank you.
Okay, we hold it there, and after these three, I'll take the next set. Yes,
Yes, I think I will start. Thank you very much. Now, the question of basic social services has to do with our integrated strategy with a number of ministries. So, which implies that most of the efforts and activities that are going on in terms of Ministry of Water Resources, in terms of energy, and then when it comes in terms of agriculture, these are the integrated ministries that we are working with in order that they can be able to provide some of the services. But I can give you one example. Lumley Beach today has got electricity through our own work, and then also because of the fact that Lumley Beach is a critical aspect when it comes to electricity. Now, water supply. Already we are far advanced in terms of providing water supply in Lumley Beach. So the point I'm making is that quite a lot of efforts are going on, and of course the ministries are doing their own, but of course the process has to be gradual in terms of rolling out basic services, because it has to do with decentralization, and then it also has to do with those ministries, their own plans. But what I do is that I regularly do meetings with them, even with Sierra Leone Roads Authority, in terms of access road around the peninsula. So it's an ongoing business, but I want to assure you that work is on course with regards to how do we deal with access roads, electricity, and then also with water supply. Now, the question of decentralization, I think this question is very good because of the fact that Ministry of Tourism was one of the ministries that never decentralized after the war, and then even up to this date. What we used to have skeletal offices, I think, in just 2 places, which virtually were shut down by the time I became minister, to an extent that even government's own property in those offices were seized by people who they rented those offices from. So I had to find, because they were not paying the rent, the offices were not functioning. But I can tell you now that we have been able to secure 3 offices in the regions, and of course those already are under renovation, and some of them are brand new, and of course we are putting a proposal so that we can be able to have tourism and cultural officers in the 22 local councils. So we will be putting out advertisements for people who, in terms of employing. So that process is on, and of course, I guess by the end of the year, we should be through with our decentralization. Now, there was a question of, I think the $25. $25 are for non-ECOWAS citizens. Even when you go to Ethiopia, you pay $25 as a non-ECOWAS citizen. So we have to make sure that our rates are competitive and our rates are in line with other African countries. Now, I think there was a question of saying ECOWAS citizens don't pay. They don't pay for visas. Okay? If you don't know, they don't pay for visas. We don't pay to go to ECOWAS countries because we are in the ECOWAS zone, and there are quite a lot of bilateral relationships between us. Now, how we came to the decision is a long story. It's a very, very long story. The story started with when I became minister. Of course, I did a 15 or 20 page research, which I took to cabinet. That's the starting point. And trying to negotiate with all the different ministries. It's a long process. But I must say that without a determined leadership, we should not have got here, because of the determination of the president and the vice president. They virtually led this process. Because for us to be able to change this scenario is not an easy, no matter how much advocacy we would have done. But if the leadership had not taken the lead, we could not have been here. We should have warranted quite a lot of delays. And I must also say that the chief immigration officer, was very much with us in all of this. And I must publicly thank him as well, because he has been the forefront, he was able to understand it, and he was able to work with us. Now, the question of the entertainment industry, I don't know where you got that information from. What I want you to do, if SLBC is here, and AYV, please give him copies of the tapes of all the activities we've been having. For your information, we have done a peace workshop a very long time ago. Second, we have done a workshop in terms of doing the entertainment policy. I would want to invite you to the Ministry of Tourism, please. Come and let's give you evidence. Sometimes, when you make those assumptions, we will not want to sit here and as if we just want to convince you. No. Whatever assumptions you make as a journalist, you need to have the evidence. You need to make sure that you have the evidence and then you have the facts to show for it. So I will want to invite you to the Ministry of Tourism so you can see all of this, or you visit AYV, you visit SLBC so that they can give you tapes of what has been happening. And of course, I don't know if you saw us, just last week Friday, we had a massive workshop at the Miata Conference Center, wherein we did the very first workshop in terms of developing a national proposal that we look into the entertainment industry. We have the records of those who attended, we have the minutes, and they were all there. So I think you need to speak more, you need to come to us so that we can
press release by one DJ Prezo, who has been an ardent promoter in the entertainment industry. He wrote that piece on the social media.
Now I know about that. Thank you. I know about no, just hold on. I know about that, and of course, just hold on, just don't conclude. I know about that because of the fact that we work with a number of them, and they are responsible, they have the responsibility to invite their colleagues to meetings. So we don't directly invite, we have a number of them, they give invitations out. And I think the president, Jimmy Bangura, has already addressed that problem. Yeah? So I think for some of this, it's better for you to seek clarification and for you to be able to come to us to ask what transpired. So what we do, we work with them and they invite their colleagues. We give them the leverage. And by the way, we have established the Foundation for Arts, Culture and Entertainment. And through that foundation, we are going to ensure that most of the activities and programs that has to do with the entertainment industry will be pursued through that program. I think these are some of the issues that have been raised for now. And I should also say by the time the CIO responds to some of these questions, we will be able to share with you something which has been done by the entertainment industry in terms of disseminating this message so that people will know that Sierra Leone has moved with regards to visa on arrival policy.
Okay, before Mr. Jaya will respond, let me just remind colleagues of the rules of engagement in terms of press briefing. Interjection, after you've asked a question, it's not a personal interview. Interjections you do post. When you've asked the question, allow authorities to respond. And if you want the one to probe, then you have post after. So I'll call on colleagues, please, let's be patient and be attentive to the answers. And after that, you can do post. Please. And when authorities are responding, interjections, hold it there. All right? Please do. Now, Mr. Jaya, you have this.
Yes, I know the Minister of Tourism has done a fabulous job of answering your questions. Let me just add to what she just said. Now, Fire, Mr. Fire, you asked a question about the process.
Yes.
Since, let me land, please. When this new government came into power, His Excellency the President, retired Brigadier Julius Madabio, made many pronouncements to this country. One of the first things we want to do is to open Sierra Leone for business. We want to open Sierra Leone for business, the tourism industry, and visa on arrival has been rolling out to many other countries. And it's particularly when you talk about the fees. As we speak, Africa as a continent is moving towards visa-free Africa, so that the continent can be able to do free trade, even single trade, air transportation, single African currency, single African passport. This is the trajectory on which Africa is moving. So when it comes to visa on arrival, the $25 fee, you already by now know that for ECOWAS citizens, you don't need to pay for visa. It's visa-free among ECOWAS citizens. And just as the minister said earlier, you go to countries like Ethiopia, for example. Ethiopia, Rwanda, most of these countries have been taking the lead when it comes to visa issues. Some of these countries, it's free. It's free visa. But Sierra Leone as a nation, I don't think we are there yet. So we are going step by step with beginning today introducing the visa on arrival. And here is the process. We don't have embassies or consulate in in some of the countries, for example. So with visa on arrival, it's easy for somebody to just, as long as now it's in process, it's open, you can just buy your ticket, hop on the plane, land at Lunge International Airport, and there will be signage pointing you to a desk, visa on arrival. And the security protocols are not going to change. The only thing visa on arrival does is to make it easy for you to access Sierra Leone. And when it comes to tourism, for example, a 40-something-year-old young American or European wanting to go on a 2-week vacation, they will have to look at visa prices. They will have to look at tickets, airports, hotels, and other things. And if we are expensive, they're going to choose another destination. And our goal is to open Sierra Leone up. So you arrive at Lunge International Airport, you go to the desk where it says visa on arrival. You talk to immigration. Immigration will look at the fees you have to pay, refer you to the NRA, which will be working in close quarters with immigration. You pay your visa fee, then go through the normal security checks. Because even as we do visa on arrival, one of the things we are cognizant of as a nation is to make sure that we protect Sierra Leone. So the same, Interpol is going to be involved in this. Interpol is also going to be at the airport. Thank you.
Okay, I think 3 more, then we move to the next one. Let me start from this mic here and move to this one. Here. The mic, please.
That's for the night church newspaper. Madam Minister, you would agree with me that the issue of Sierra Leone being a high-cost destination points is very serious for us. So even the fact that we've got a visa for the landing, that issue is also very much critical. What is the government doing around that?
Thank you. If the questions are short and precise, then I can accommodate few. All right. You press the mic in front of you.
Mohamed Kumara,
Yes.
newspaper.
Yes, just speak.
The minister, as a immigration officer, sir, did you take into consideration seriously the exodus, the non-native brother visa on arrival. The world threats towards terrorism and the mafias, the drug mafias would like to use Sweden as a transit point. That's one. Two, Mr. Immigration Officer, still with you, sir. Sweden is seen today as an important free labor market from Asia, thereby balancing the fundamental rights of Swedenians who have worked in the labor market in their own country. We've seen quite a lot of Asians coming here, but the department is giving them resident visas and, of course, working permits. What about it, sir? What do you say about it?
All right. This mic.
Yes.
Switch off your mic. Continuously press. Sorry.
Abraman Kumar, our Queen newspaper. Mr. Immigration Officer, you saying open Sierra Leone for business, I think people of Sierra Leone have a bad experience in terms of business. Our leaders referring to business. During the past regime we all had, during the campaign, somebody saying, I mean the previous president, saying he wants to run the country as a business. Till now, we don't know how everything operates. And Mr. Immigration Officer, we also had issue regarding the passports. While the current regime, while they were in opposition, they actually stated that the price of the passports is too much. And the current regime is now in power. Are we continuously going to use that same price that is too much? And Madam Minister, issues relating to the orderly, I don't know if I call it right or so. I saw something on social media saying your ministry have already lifted the ban on orderly. Did you actually sit together with the security operators in terms of doing so? Thank you very much.
All right.
Yes.
This young man, I'm coming to you. Let's keep our questions
Yeah. Mohamed Bambua, Culture Radio. Just an addition to the question. The western area of the Union are also raising concern they were left out. Why?
All right. Man, you have the mic in front of you.
Give me the phone.
No, you have one. Just draw that one. Take this one. Take the one closer to you. Press. Go ahead.
Isaac Minister, Momentum. Minister spoke of 10 countries rated by CNA. Are they in Africa or West Africa? My second question is this. What was the visa cost for non-citizens of ECOWAS? Was it below $25 or more than $25? Thank you.
Right. Yes. Yeah, I'm waiting for you. Go ahead.
Yes, Madam Minister of Tourism. The rate at which tourists visit this country, has it gone downwards or has it stagnated or is it on the up? If they fall within any of these, can you give us factors prevailing in the country responsible for this? Thank you.
And the last now, but not the least, the man at the back, then we'll close this chapter.
My name is Leone and I work for Universal Radio. My question is to the Chief Immigration Officer, and it has to do with the residential permits. Chief will agree with me that a lot of foreigners flood the country, come to Sierra Leone. Some that are considerate will go to the immigration office to seek residential permits. Others would prefer to go straight to their residence. I want to know, how do you monitor foreigners that come to Sierra Leone, sometimes secure residential permits and also overstay in the country, because government generates huge amount of money from that sector. So I want to know, how do you monitor foreigners that do come to Sierra Leone in terms of securing residential permits?
Thank you very much, and that now we take response. And guys standing there, I think there are empty chairs. There are two already here. You can engage them.
Thank you very much for your questions. Let me start. Remember in my statement, I talked of the fact that we are very mindful of security. Because when you make your country open, we have to make sure that we protect Sierra Leone as a nation. That's why I said, when considering doing visa on arrival, you look at countries, you look at the countries that you do issue visa on arrival to. If you look at my list, the list that I gave you, talking about Africa, Commonwealth countries and other countries, we have Interpol at the airport. And Securiport is the company in charge of doing our enrollments when you come into the country. And they do analysis to check criminal background profiles. So for example, if you come to the airport while going through enrollment, you are being placed in a database. And if there's any criminal background on that individual coming in, Securiport will pick it up, and Interpol is plugged directly into the Securiport database. That way, if the match comes out negative, then we will allow you into the country. But if it is positive, meaning you have criminal background, they will hand you over to the security sector, to the police, to Interpol, and we also have ONS at the airport overseeing all of these security aspects when it comes to the airport. Somebody talked of our government talking about open for business. I'm sure all of us in this room will agree that open for business and running the country as a business are two different things. The previous government, I know you said the president said he was running Sierra Leone as a business. Here we say we open the country for business. We open the country by attracting investors to come into Sierra Leone, to establish businesses, attract foreign direct investment. That is completely different from running the country as a business. We want to open the country up so that investors can come in. People can come in, bring money, establish factories and stuff like that. That's what we are talking about. It's not about running the country for business. As a business, sorry. Then, Isaac, you talked about the fees, the $25 fee. The $25 fee applies only to African countries. And as I told you, Africa, the African Union, we are now moving for open travel, open access to all other African countries. You take Ethiopia, which I mentioned to you, Ethiopia, Rwanda, for example, is visa-free to nearly all African countries. And I told you that Sierra Leone, we are just rolling this out. We are not there yet to make it free. So that's why we went with what Ethiopia is doing to make it $25 for African countries. But you'll see that for all other countries, somebody talked about, I don't know if it was you, Isaac, that asked the question, how did we arrive at the fee, whether it was high or whether it was less? Thank you. The $80 we arrived at here, we took the average. Because sometimes it's high, some countries we are paying the equivalent of $100. Some we are paying the equivalent of 600,000 leones. So we came to $80 to make it uniform for everybody. So there is no mix-up when it comes to that issue. Then Ademi, you talked on residential permit. As Chief Immigration Officer, one of the things I have started long back since last year when I took over. At the Immigration Department, we have the investigation unit. And this is a unit that does spot checks. Because according to our immigration law, immigration is allowed to do regular spot checks at hotels, at businesses, at companies, to make sure that those employees that are non-Sierra Leoneans working for them have the prerequisite residential permit or even labor permit, but we limit us to the residential permit. Because you will agree with me as a non-foreigner, for you to, your starting place is the residential permit. Without residential permit, you cannot get to labor permit. So we are very cognizant of that, and I promise you, we are working on that. We are improving that system every day. Every day we are working on that. Thank you.
Sorry, sir. The passport question. The passport question.
The passport question.
What the cost, whether the cost remains the same.
When it comes to the passport, we met a contract that was signed back in 2012, and that contract was for 7 years. We are in the process of reviewing, because the very first thing I did as an immigration officer when I came in, apart from being an ex-military officer, I'm also a lawyer by trade. So as soon as I got my appointment, the very first thing I did was call for all contracts relating or regarding immigration and begin to go through those contracts to enable me to do my job effectively and also to serve the citizenry of this our great republic. The passport question you raised, we are looking at it. The contract you had, the passport price was pegged to the dollar, and it was for $100. Okay? At that time in 2012, the rate of the dollar at that time was $750,000. Excuse me. I forget that I'm not in America still. 750,000 leos. And what we have done since we took over in April of 2018 is to work with the company to keep that price still at 750,000 leos. And all of us in this room know where the dollar is at today. So we are still reviewing that process, and we are working with the company to see what best we can do. Thank you.
Yes, there were some questions, but I'm happy that our colleague is here, the Deputy Minister of Aviation, and there are questions, of course. There are one or two things which he may be the best person to respond to now that he's here. Now, the question of high cost of travel is a big problem. Now, you see, there are many countries which have got attractive tour packages. They have attractive tour packages because, one, visas are easy to access, are not expensive. Air tickets are not as expensive. Cost of hotel rooms. These are the three. And these three have been the biggest problem of Sierra Leone when it comes to tourism, trade, investment, especially when it comes to how people can access our country. Now, as a result of that, a lot of studies have been gone into all of this with support from the World Bank, from government, from agencies. We've been looking at this and to see what can we do. Now, the first step, which we have taken as a government, is for us to embark on an international campaign to rebrand Sierra Leone. Now, of course, you very well know that in tourism and international development, you need to ensure that you go there with your country, showcase what you have, rebrand your countries among 100 and more countries. And the good news is that the government has been able to support us this first year for us to be able to ensure that we make gains internationally. Having done that, it has contributed enormously to rebranding and changing the image of Sierra Leone. Because when we came, what was Sierra Leone known for? Ebola, the war, the mudslide, and many different things. Now today, I will want you people to take your time as journalists, because as journalists, you should not only wait for things which happen. You need to be undertaking surveys. You need to be doing research work. I want you all to spend your time to speak to people at home and abroad to see how things have changed. So what that implies is that we've now got favorable image abroad. And that is why we've been able to have quite a number of increased people that are coming into the country. Now, one big thing that has happened has to do with the visas now. the good news is government has addressed the visa issue. So what we are trying to do is we are now engaging our hotels, because speaking to the hotels, they tell you different things. If you ask them, why is it that your hotel's rooms are expensive? Number one, occupancy rate. If you have a hotel room of 100 people, maybe your occupancy rate will be only about 10 or 15, and sometimes that is a problem. Second, the tariffs which you are paying for water supply. Third, the tariffs which you are paying for electricity. And you can imagine how that is accruing. So what we have done is to try and unpack all of these challenges. And I can tell you we are having very good discussions with all of these people. So hopefully now that we have the visa on arrival, we are also now almost somewhere in terms of reduction of the cost of hotel rooms. Now, on the cost of air tickets, the Deputy Minister will talk about that, because we have also been in the forefront with him in terms of reducing the cost of air tickets, but there are some challenges with it. But I know since last year, the government has actually reduced it by 34%. This has to do with government's own taxes they were getting on the tickets. But then there are other things which he may wish to tell you about. So with these three things, once we address them, then we are able to address the high cost of travel. And we've got a very good meeting with the Hotel Federation and Association and the airlines. So we meet together. We have the Hotel Federation, we have the Hotel Association, we have the Board of Airlines. These are all groups now that have been revived under the Ministry of Tourism. So we constantly meet, speak about issues, and then try to address the problems. So we are all in this together. And this is the very first time that we have been able to have all of these sectors together in terms of looking at the cost of travel. Now, I think there was a question, or I think the security, he will answer that one in terms of the airport. Now, let me come to the orderly. Now, you can recall that I'm happy Mr. Kylie is here as well. I know he has quite a lot of knowledge around this. You could recall that as a government, we inherited a temporary ban on esoteric society, temporary ban, right onto elections. And of course, if you inherit a temporary ban, you need to study the situation, and for you to have a clear idea as to how you're going to address the issue. Because we all could recall that we had very unsavory incidents in Freetown particularly. So which implies that as a government, there was need for us to look at it critically and to see how we're going to address that. And then, as a matter of fact, you will know that some of these challenges clearly came from Western area. Some of the challenges that led to the banning, to the temporary banning, did not come from the rest of the country. So which means that consideration needs to be given to all the issues that has to do with security around all of this. Now, going forward, we have had 2 workshops with the esoteric groups. 2 workshops, big workshops at Miata Conference Center. Now, these workshops, we've been able to work with them. We've been able to engage the leaders, the esoteric group, the OJES, the Odele group. We've been able to work with them. They were able to come out with guidelines which the leaders have signed up to, that they were going to take responsibility in terms of making sure that if opportunity is given to them to start to parade, then of course they will be able to support the security in the quest so that we have peaceful processes. So having gone through all of that, of course, there was the need for the lifting of the ban. So what does this imply? It means the Ministry of Tourism, the Ministry of Local Government, in fact yesterday I met with the minister, and of course the police, we are all together in this to make sure that we get it right. So our next steps is for us to meet and then also to convey a bigger meeting of all the leaders so that we talk about these guidelines and to talk about how these guidelines are going to be implemented. Tourist arrivals have increased dramatically because of the factors I've mentioned. Positive visibility of Sierra Leone now. Many more activities are taking place at local level, and of course we have increased in terms of our marketing, and there are many more different things which has to do with hotels, has to do with travel, which for now, Sierra Leone, we are becoming much more robust. And I think why this has happened is the rebranding process and the robust international marketing which we've done. And of course, the fact that Sierra Leone is a peaceful country. And of course, because of the fact that as a new government, we are making inroads at the international level in order that we can be able to sell our programs, we can be able to engage at the international level, so we have more leverage and mileage in terms of how we are interacting with the international community. So I think these are some of the questions, and I thank those who have been able to give me some assignment in thinking through some of this. And after the response of the Deputy Minister of Aviation, we have a very short promotional song for the visa on arrival, which I will ask my guys just to, like 5 minutes, because you'll be hearing it all over the radio stations so that you can listen to what we put together, because we have to promote this visa on arrival. It has been a very, very big stumbling block for Sierra Leone's development. And all of you guys here need to come out with very good articles about this, telling the rest of the world that Sierra Leone has moved. We have removed one of the biggest challenges we people have been clamoring about.
Hello everyone. I'm Emmanuel Amfoyo. I'm the president for Eastern Union. Of course, he's my vice president, Mr. Rico, and my advisor, Malcolm. She's an upcoming artist, by the name of Maggie, of course, the face of the South, Step Q from Bo. We want to complement the efforts of the government, with this visa on arrival project. So we decided to put a song together, courtesy of the wonderful Minister of Tourism. And we want to pay special respect to Madam Minister. So listen to the song and enjoy yourself, please. Where's it? Your fruits are
Land that we love, our sweet Sierra Leone. Special thanks to the government of Sierra Leone for making us alone visa on arrival country. With this, tourism, investors, and development to come now with countries alone.
Fine, fine salon, sweet, sweet salon, Diamond Valley, Mundaya we did. Fine, fine salon, sweet, sweet salon, Diamond Valley, Mundaya we did. When you come salon, you go get visa.
Journalists don't give money. They receive money, but they don't give.
So I don't know whether the minister has been briefed now about the questions. Yeah, you take the podium.
Good afternoon, everybody. I hope my friend Bompia is not going to misquote me. And whilst they were singing and dancing, and my senior colleague was saying that journalists should clap, I said they are more interested in criticizing than clapping. I know that because I would wonder if tomorrow you have the prerequisite publicity that we are seeking for, because this is first in the history of our nation. We came, we saw, and we're not trying to conquer. Because in this business of ours, our coming into the equation, transport and aviation, our ministry is an enabler ministry. We should ensure that the things are put in proper perspective for other ministries to really hit their targets. In this particular one we're talking about, I had broadly two sets of questions talking about the cost of air tickets and the security related to traveling. In the business of aviation, there is what we call an International Civil Aviation Organization. That's a wing of the United Nations that deals with aviation. And in that organization, they have two annexes. Annex 9 that deals with protocols, and Annex 17 that deals with safety and security. Sierra Leone, ever since, we try our best in security, and as far back as 2013, our rating was 63, and the minimum benchmark there is 75. As recent as last week, Friday, we concluded another International Civil Aviation Security Audit. They audit us as a state. And we have tried, as a government less than a year, 6 months in office, to make sure that all the things that we should put in place to hit the 75% target and above are properly put into perspective. And now we're hoping that in 3 months' time, our results will be out. And we're really hopeful because it entails a lot of difficult tasks, a lot of actions that we should take as a government, very strong actions. If you now go to the airports, you'll find out that the physical airside security of the airport is mounted seriously and even includes the presence of military personnel. If you now go to the airport, you realize that the entrance into that airport right from the main gate is highly restricted. If you now go to the airport, you realize that it's no more business as usual. When, for instance, President is traveling, you have everybody dancing, maxing around the place. We have put, because in the words of our president, it is very important for us to do the correct thing to match with international standards than politicizing everything. We will not be, that is where you still hear people crying that when they are at their airports, they were not given VIP treatment because they've been used in the past of making traveling in and out of the country as a rally or as a dancing club. And the presidential lounge is not meant for that. It's meant for the use of the president and very, very other senior people around the globe. Now, that is how far we've gone into security. But let me tell you the one that relates to the specific questions that was asked, that is the cost of air ticket. Because our security rating had never been that satisfactory, and because our safety rating has never been that satisfactory, so our premium on insurance is very high. So once the premium on your insurance for aircraft to operate in your country, for sure, the price is going to go up. Because what other people pay as minimum or nothing in terms of insurance, we always pay supernormal price for that. That is why we have moved as a government, as a ministry, to try to surmount that particular difficulty. Now in facilitation, you and me know that in facilitation, there's so many other approaches that we should use. We have reduced all government-related charges by 34%, cost across everything that is government-related charge, so that we get more aircraft coming in. Therefore, you've got African World is now coming on a daily basis. You got A-Sky that is now coming on a daily basis. You got on the 15th of this month, you've got Air Côte d'Ivoire resuming again. You got Transair resuming in October. And we've got Finnair, we've got other people that have suggested that they're willing to come because we've reduced by 34%, including landing charges. And we have also negotiated with Total to make our jet fare competitive, as you have it in Guinea and Liberia. So we've worked on that, and that one is going on. And over and above it all, because of the proactiveness of the government in making Lunge community an economic free zone, coupled with the projection for the bridge and some other developments that's going to be hosted at Lunge, and with a move to have another terminal and try to change the whole vicinity and the look of the airport itself. You agree with me that for us all in this room, we can board any type of vehicle from here, for instance, to Makeni. Once we get there, that's our priority. But for somebody that's a billionaire, cannot board any type of plane. And for certain planes, aircraft to be allowed or to land in Lunge, there are certain criteria that needs to be in place. I.e., the fire extinguisher, for instance, the fire truck. The fire truck is not as normal as the one that you see being used by fire force. That uses only water. The fire truck at Lunge, it's used both water and fume, and that is a very specialized fire engine. We are required to have 2 of a particular max quality that can deal with aircraft that looks like Boeing or Max Dreamliners. We have tried as a government, we have acquired 1, and that particular fire truck, if you now go to Lunge and see it, that is one of its kind in the whole of the sub-region. We're supposed to have another 1. When once for now, we have moved from rating 7 to level 9. What does that mean? That you now start to see aircraft that are like Emirates. If you go to level 9, aircraft like Emirates will come to your country. So if you go to level 10, which is the highest, another 1 more of that takes you to level 10. So with Emirates, for those that have been privileged to push very close to it, let alone to fly in it, you will know that even Bill Gates can fly with Emirates. But you not the type of aircraft that are coming. To us here in Sierra Leone, we see it very sophisticated because we do not have that privilege. But for certain investors, real serious investors with their own money, they will not fly in those sort of aircraft. So these are the things. In the aviation world, there is no small airport, and they do not bend the rules for anybody. So you will not say, I'm a small country, I do not have money. No, you have to be state-of-the-art equipment, and it has to be on top. And there, like I said, the minimum rate or percentage, compliance they would tolerate from any state is 75%. So you will not say, I pass, I got 63. No, they're not interested in that. It should be on state-of-the-art. So we're doing that. Coming to visa on arrival, we in the aviation industry, ministry, we are more than happy, because that is going to help, because that's very key in even the pricing we're talking about. Because before this time, you want to come for a visit, you would Google and identify Sierra Leone as a suitable destination. But the next thing, how will you get to Sierra Leone? Somebody is in a country, and knowing Sierra Leone the size of us on the global map, to even track Sierra Leone and ask people that understands about Sierra Leone is difficult. So now if you go on the internet and the Google and get all our information, and you now know that it's visa on arrival, your next thing is to just fly to Sierra Leone, and once you're there, what does that mean? Instead of struggling to go for visa somewhere else and you cost you $100 or $200, you come to Sierra Leone, but the spillover effect of that, once the person is in Sierra Leone as a guest, he or she must have his accommodation, his entertainment, and he leaves a lot of foreign earnings or foreign currencies in the country than expected. The other thing that we've been struggling with, because of this type of aircraft we're using and the difficulties that surrounded the operations in the aviation industry, we have not been buying our ticket on the BSP. It's bill settlement plan. What does that mean? Is that we've not been having the privilege, for instance, to go buy directly cement, for instance, from Dangote, who is a manufacturer of cement in the country. You first have to go through an agent goes through another person until the cement. But with the VSP, once you've got your security rating improved, once you've got your safety rating improved, you will now be accredited to apply for the BSP platform. Meaning, therefore, if Sierra Leone is accredited BSP, anybody, particularly journalists that know how to play with the internet or the machines, you can stay anywhere and buy your own ticket online and eliminate the issue of middleman business. So you can even stay here in Sierra Leone and you buy a ticket that runs from, let's say, Mali to Ghana. But you're resident in Sierra Leone, you can buy that. And you pay that global, you pay on that global platform level, which I've just reduced the argument to like somebody buying directly from brewery than you buying from an agent, or an agent comes and buy and takes it to McKinney and you go buy again from that person. You now have to pay all the markup for all the parties that were involved in you acquiring, a beer from brewery. But if you go and buy direct from brewery, you're buying from that. So that's the biggest advantage it's going to give us. So this thing is working, and it will only work in line with other sisters ministry, because the Ministry of Internal Affairs through the immigration is very key in this to ensure compliance. Tourism needs, like what my brothers and my sister and brothers did, they play their own role, gets all over the world this information, and what we're expecting from the Vortex states also to send this message via whatever means of communication all over the world, because the more people they come with a foreign earnings, and the issue of dollar pricing going every day. Banjul doesn't produce anything, the Gambia, other than granite. But when you are there, the issue of exchanging dollar, and that is not a difficult thing, because the amount of tourists that are in the country, they come with the dollar, the pound sterling, the euro, and everything. And it's easy for us, because just what they bring. And the Bank of Sierra Leone, also the Minister of Finance, have helped, because we're now saying that we have nothing against the dollar boys, but their operations have to be formalized. It has to be formalized. This informal way of doing things, and everybody say in this country, how for doing a God, we have to stop it. We have to stop it. We have to start doing the things formally. And the people that really we need to change the nation, it's the media. Because you have to tell somebody that that's the correct approach. Shortcuts are dangerous. They will never get us to the real destination that we're looking for. So I thank you for now, and I will respond to any further thing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And since we are having another minister on hold, I'll move straight to that. We've been talking about labor issues around the country, and I know you had several questions, and based on suggestions from members of the press, this is why we call the ministers to come and respond to some of your concerns. And so we'll now ask the Minister of Labor and Social Security to address the press just briefly on updates, and after that we'll have Mr. Kelly, who will come to talk to us about security. Welcome, sir.
Gentlemen and ladies of the Fourth Estate, my colleague minister, the Chief Immigration Officer, senior government officials present, good afternoon to you all. Well, as always, I'll thank His Excellency the President for the high career visibility opportunity accorded me to serve Mama Salone as Minister of Labor and Social Security. I am Adekunle King. Adekunle King, Minister of Labor and Social Security. The work of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security is very crucial. It is a very, very important ministry in the sense that we are responsible for protecting rights. We are responsible for advancing security. And we are responsible for serving justice. This makes the Ministry of Labor and Social Security a cross-cutting ministry. That being the case, the ministry works closely with every other ministry in this country. Last week, we were summoned by the Minister of Mines on the instruction of His Excellency the President, retired Brigadier Julius Madabio, to investigate persistent strikes and roadblocks within the Sierra Rutile mining vicinity. And as a cross-cutting ministry, I went there with a team, the Labor Commissioner, senior labor officers, the press officer attached to the ministry. Also, the Deputy Minister of Transport was there, as he is very experienced in that sector. Yes, I recommended that he be drafted in to join, because I know him as, being very knowledgeable in that sector, and also being very radical. So we went up there. We had a meeting with the Chief Executive Officer of Sierra Rutile and the community. Several issues came up. We realized several factors responsible for the tension between the company and the community, namely cultural issues and CRS obligation issues of the company. For example, we admonished the community people to be law-abiding. They stated their grievances. For example, that they're requesting 70% quota of recruitment from the company for skilled and unskilled jobs for landowners, that the company should employ graduates within the community other than bringing people outside the community, that they need provision of improved water facility and social amenities, provision of school bus for their school children. But here we observe that there is lack of communication between company and the people, because actually gone are those days wherein companies will just come into communities and just exploit the mineral resources there and then leave massive holes all over the town without investing in corporate social responsibility. But for example, the bus that they were requesting, company informed us that they already purchased a bus for the community, and effective September, I think this week, the bus will be commissioned. The company has constructed skill training center for mechanics, and they've provided scholarship to support the local people, and they also embarking on other development projects for the community. We note as a team that there has been delay in the payment of lease rents to the community people, the landowners, and also we informed the company that they must provide electricity to communities where transmission cables pass through these villages, because you cannot be passing electric cables on top of the heads of these people and then you don't give them lights. So we admonish company to work very closely with the people. As a cross-cutting ministry again, around the 24th or the 23rd of August, we are again engaged with the Minister of Tourism to resolve another serious labor issue that was brewing up at Lunge, over the Lunge Hotel. That hotel was leased out by government to an investor who pulled out of the country without satisfying the end of service benefits and severance packages of the employees. In collaboration with the Ministry of Tourism and the Sierra Leone Labour Congress, our social partners, we were able to address that situation, and 2-month salaries were paid to about 50 of the staff, whilst an undertaking was made by the Ministry of Tourism to pay the remaining severance package to the people. As a ministry, when we took over a derelict, abandoned, though very vital ministry. So from a presentation I have here, you will see that the aviation people are here, and there is a serious leadership lesson we learn from aviation. For those of you who have had the opportunity to fly aircrafts, there is a standard safety announcement before takeoff. We are told that in the unlikely event of loss of cabin pressure, an oxygen mask will descend, that you must first put on your own oxygen before attempting to help others. So the problems at the Ministry of Labour are so enormous. For example, we are the ministry responsible for occupational health and safety, but yet still we are housed in buildings that are roofed by asbestos. So much so, a colleague minister said to me, he said, "Man, based on my experience with asbestos in Germany, if I were the Minister of Labour, I will not enter that building where you are. I will not enter it because of that asbestos there. It's a poison. It's cancerous." But through effective leadership and partnership with GIZ, we've been able to refurbish the commissioner's building. The asbestos roof has been changed there, and the conference room offices all equipped and given a facelift. Also, we are the only ministry now, I think, the only ministry in this country that has a disabled-friendly environment. The entrance to my office has been given a thorough facelift. We have a ramp there now, wherein even a cripple can access that place in his wheelchair. So I admonish my colleagues here to try to emulate the good example of the Ministry of Labor and Social Security. And we've been able to resolve several other disputes. For example, there was an incident at the Moyamba Junction roadwork strike with the European Union. We were able to address that issue because the workers were disrupting the construction of the road, and through the leadership provided by the ministry in collaboration with the Ministry of Finance, we were able to make sure that we meet with the demands of those workers, and they have been settled financially and everything is quiet. Also, the Sierra Leone Port Authority issue. The previous administration created a scenario wherein people at the Sierra Leone Port Authority were either terminated or redundant without being paid their benefits. Through the leadership of the ministry again and the former NCP chairman, who also happened to be the Secretary General of the Sierra Leone People's Party, and the Sierra Leone Labour Congress as our social partners, we were able to resolve that issue. Also, the toll gate strike, workers at the toll gate, CRSG with the Chinese, went on an industrial action. Again, as a cross-cutting ministry, the ministry representative of Transport Ministry, representative of Ministry of Works, we went there and we were able to address that issue. Also, there is another very serious issue: migration. Currently, as we speak, there is a ban on taking Sierra Leoneans overseas for any kind of work, because we inherited a very untidy situation wherein equipment license were issued out to people with little or no credibility, and as a state there were serious consequences for that. About a month ago, I met with a cross-section of staff of the political section at the Embassy of the United States, and they informed us that unless significant progress is made by Sierra Leone, we will be removed from the Tier 2 watch list to Tier 3. And the consequence of that is that as a state, we're going to forfeit all aid coming from the U.S. government to Sierra Leone in the form of the MCC, the USAID, and the CDC. So when you see these guys out there complaining, oh no, they've put a freeze on migration, blah, 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 they don't know what they're talking about. But even before that representation been made to the ministry by the U.S. Embassy, out of our own intuitive insights, we've been working on what we call the Overseas Employment and Migration Act of 2019. And so, in partnership with the Law Officers Department, we've been able to produce the first draft of the bill that will be entitled Overseas Employment Migration Act of 2019. There are very, very good provisions in that law that will help sanitize migration issues in the country. For example, Section 14 deals with duties of licensee. Section 16, registration of migrant workers. Section 17, migration clearance. Section 18, place of departure. And Section 19.1, restriction on migration. This was a challenge, I had when I just took over as minister. People came to the ministry, they have contracts to take people to Libya. Yes, what's the town again? In Libya, a dangerous location in Libya. Yes, they came chanting, blackmailing me emotionally by chanting, Madabu, But I said, okay, you keep quiet, because Section 19 here, for example, talks about restriction on migration, that where the minister is satisfied that the migration of a citizen to a particular country shall be against the interest of the citizen, or that his health or safety may be jeopardized in that country, the minister may by order restrict the migration to that country. So we cannot, with our eyes wide open, put our people in harm's way, give them permits to go and work in Libya when we know fully well that Libya is dangerous. So coming to someone who said the previous administration said they were going to run the country or the state like a business, that was an error. You cannot run a state like a business. That was absolutely wrong, a misnomer. You cannot run a state like a business, no way. The proper thing to say is, I will run the state like I run my home. Because as a responsible parent, you make sure your kid comes from school, you check his or her bag to examine the schoolwork. You make sure you provide food for them. You make sure you take care of their health and safety. So that's how you run a state. The objective of running a business is profits. And in making profits, people can be immoral. People can mix kerosene and petrol because they want more profits. People can soda the cup with candle and sell a cup of rice to you so that they make more profits. So you cannot compare running a state to running a business. That was an error. And we, as a government, the new direction, we run in the state with what we call routine oversights. When you run a state like you run a business, you are doing guesswork and running a country by spasm. That is, you don't know what you're doing. And as a ministry, there was also the CADCO issue. About 3 months ago, over 100 workers at a company located in Morristown, they stormed the ministry in protestation. Yes. That they don't want to work again. They don't want to work. We don't want to work. They don't want to work. They should pay us. Yes. Luckily, I'm not really a lawyer, but I'm also a trained negotiator from one of the best negotiation schools in the world, based in Scotland. And I was able to pacify them. Cool down, guys, cool down. Because you have 100 million today, and you don't have any cash flow for the next 3 months, you end up being a poor man in the 4th month. So we were able to pacify them, calm them down, went to CADCO with a team of labor officers, addressed the company, and a total of 406 million and 58 cents, 548 loans was paid out to casual workers as benefits, and they continued with the job. We also have the child labor units at the Ministry of Labor. So even though child labor is something that you might think falls within the purview of the Social Welfare Ministry, but as I've told you, our work is cross-cutting. So there is a child labor unit at the Ministry of Labor, and in collaboration with the Children's Commission, we held a 2-day sensitization session in Pujol on the need to remove children from sand mining. Yes, on the need to remove children from sand mining. And we've also developed operational procedures for private recruitment agencies. As a ministry, we also inherited a complete lack of wages and salaries policy in the country. What we have in the country, which we inherited, is scary, because in labor administration, people are remunerated based on experience, based on qualification, based on job responsibility, etc. But you have a system in the country wherein you have someone with more qualification, even as provided by the Constitution, that to hold particular office you should be 20 years experienced in that sector for you to be qualified, but yet you received a remuneration way below someone who holds another job with 10 years experience, who is not qualified to hold your position. So as a government, we're working on setting up the Salaries and Wages Commission. Work is far advanced in that respect. We've had the draft bill submitted by the Ghanaian consultant, Mr. Graham, and hopefully by November, we'll see how the work of that commission will come on stream to harmonize the salaries of public sector workers in this country. And we've also set up the Joint National Negotiating Board, JNNB, with regards the minimum wage fixing. Mind you, the law provides that when that committee meets, they can either review the minimum wage upward or downward, or the committee may suggest that we leave it as it is. Because the previous administration increased the minimum wage from 21,000 to 500,000. Yes, that was good. That's good towards election. But as politicians, we must learn to be sincere, because politics and lie shall not mix. They are like oil and water. Increase the minimum wage from 21,000 to 500,000. You created a serious shortfall and pressure on the NACIT Trust Fund, because when you increase that from 21,000, people who had worked, let me say, for 25 years, they go on retirement that year. 21,000 to 500,000, the shortfall was never provided to NACIT, which left a deficit of 6 billion loans on the NACIT scheme. Because Section 39 of the NACIT Act provides that the minimum pension shall be 50%, the pension shall be 50% of the minimum wage. So you see, the problems we've inherited, very huge. It's like an elephant. And how do you eat an elephant? It's one bite at a time. We have the labor law issue we're dealing with. Yesterday, I took direct responsibility on that because they were telling me, oh, we need to form a committee. I said, no, this committee thing is enough. We're not going to form a committee to kill snake. Where do you see a snake here? I will say snake, snake, snake. Now that was killer. Not going to form any committee. I've taken direct leadership in ensuring that by February next year, we are done with this issue of the labor lawyers at the law office, the labor lawyers at the law office. We have more to brief you on, but I've just been informed that the press team is about to depart for Lunge. So I'll just whet your appetite with these. I thank you.
Until una sef don listen to wetin happen inside the press briefing today, we may bring the program come to una. Me name na Kona Sise. So till we meet again to another edition of press briefing, I say tata.